Hi Taurus, welcome to your mid-month reading. And this is only for Taurus rising and Taurus sun. And this is not for your moon, so watch only the videos for your rising and your sun. And the reason is I want to do an AstroChat here with you and talk about the current energies going on. I have my laptop here with your chart, okay? And we are gonna take a look because there are some major squares going on right now. And at the moment that I'm recording this video, Mars has just entered Taurus and Mercury has just entered Aquarius, and they are both squaring each other in a very tight square. I'm not gonna talk about this square because I think that by the moment I post this video it won't be happening anymore. But Mars is also squaring Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius, and I talked about the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction in another video. I'm gonna link it up here so you can check it if you want. And I talk also about, I do an overview over each sign, so you can check it out. But with Mars in Taurus is squaring Saturn and Jupiter, and this is happening in fixed signs. So this is a bit problematic here because fixed signs, they want things their way, okay? They don't want to change. Or they come from a change, but right now, once they have set a new pattern, they want this to continue in that way. And Aquarius is a very collective zodiac, and Taurus is a very personal zodiac. And this is happening in your 1st and 10th house. So your natural house, I'm considering here. So Mars in Taurus is happening in your 1st house, and Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius in your 10th house. So the 1st house is our first contact with the outside world. Think about your birth chart as a map of your inner workings. And the ascendant, or the 1st house, is how we communicate. It's the doorway between that inner world, that chart, and the outside world. So this is the house in which we start discovering who we are. So all the houses between 1 and 6, they are about the definition of the self, how we define ourselves. It's where we find out who we are, but that all starts in the 1st house. It's the first contact with our primal instincts, our impulses. That's an Aries house. So it's the first spark of life happens in the 1st house, and Mars is in there in Taurus. And Mars in Taurus is very slow moving. Wherever Mars is where we put our energy. But wherever we have Taurus, we are a bit stubborn about it. So with Mars in Taurus, you want to focus on yourself. And you are not up to change. You don't want to change your ways right now. You don't want to change how you see the world. You don't want to change how you interact with the outside world. You want that to continue like that. You want to put your energy and be set in your own ways, in your own persona. But with Jupiter and Saturn in the 10th house, you are being asked to redefine how you show up to the outside world. Because I wanted to think with me about it. The 10th house cusp, which we call it the midheaven, it's the highest point in the sky. So at the moment that you were born, the highest point where the sun could hit in that specific time of the year, that's the 10th house cusp in Placidus, at least in one. But I'm not going to go into details because we have different ways of looking into it. But the way that I'm using here, that's how we define it. And that's what we call the midheaven. So that's our most public persona. The ascendant is our most real persona, our big three, the ascendant, the sun, and the moon. But the midheaven is our more social persona, is how we express ourselves to the world initially, is the public persona. And we are being asked to change that, to redefine that in different, more inventive ways, with Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius going on in there. But Mars in Taurus is also worried about our true self. So there is a square going on. These are two energies pulling in different directions in a relationship that is being very tense. So we have a 90 degrees between these two planets going on there. And they apply the same force. And they don't want to compromise because they are both fixed signs. So how do you integrate that? How do you integrate an energy between two planets that are very stubborn and don't want to compromise? You are being asked to change your public persona, to present yourself differently, but all your energy at the moment is set into redefining yourself, who you are for yourself, but in a way that is also quite steady, slow moving, and doesn't want to try things differently. And it's perfect with the cards that came out because we got the Emperor. So your energy here in the mid-month is the Emperor. And this is an Aries card, but he is very set in his way. This is a very rigid position of the Emperor. He does not want to change. And I'm seeing this pattern for all the zodiacs, okay? It's not just with you. This January, I think that we are all stubborn, okay? So even though I'm telling you this, don't worry, because we are all stubborn right now. With these energies going on in the fixed signs, we are all stubborn. It's just that for each one of us, it's happening in a different area of our life. And for you, it's happening in your first house. So it's really the definition of the self. You don't want to change who you are right now. You want to continue with things that have been working for you. Because you are showing up as the Emperor. So probably that persona has worked for you and you want to continue like that. But at the same time, with Jupiter and Saturn, you are being asked to transform that. You are not able at the moment to attach yourself to the ways you used to be. You're being asked to be more flexible, and that's very hard with that square because they are pulling in these two different directions. They want things their own way. And we see that here both with the Ace of Pentacles and the Death, both in the reverse. We are being asked to transform. There is a lot of denial in transforming ourselves. And with this Ace of Pentacles here, which is an Earth card, right? Pentacles are an Earth suit. We are very attached to the material part of us. The message that I'm getting here is that there might be a lack of connection with the spiritual side of the self. And that's why we become rigid. Rising in Taurus. So the first house in Taurus. There's a strong connection with the material. And then we lack the spiritual here. The Emperor he's lacking a connection with the spiritual world, in my view here. But we are being asked to transform that, to turn down the material for a while and to connect more with our spiritual self, because there is a transformation here that is being asked. And I didn't say this in the beginning, but this will be a very short reading. It's just a quick overview of the energies of this mid-month, okay? So I will do a more complete reading in February. You can also check your reading for the month of January. But here we are going to keep it short and simple, and not connected with the astrology at the moment. But it's very important here to allow yourself to transform through the connection with your spiritual self. Also because it is with Jupiter and Saturn in your 10th house, which is a house of Capricorn. We are very connected with the material, with the career, with how the world sees us, with our public persona. that is very important, but that is being asked to be transformed here. So be careful not to be too set in your ways. Allow change to come. It's very hard this month. With these fixed energies, it's going to be very hard. But squares are a great opportunity to try and integrate those energies. Rewards come from the integration of squares. So let's get some oracle cards for you here, just to finish this quick reading. Yes. It's interesting because I feel like Aries had a very similar reading as well. And I'll probably see something very similar to all the zodiacs I'm expecting. We have here and now, and then we have past, future, and it says you are here. To move towards the future, we need to transform past habits. It's very important to let some past habits die. Because also Mars is in the first house, and even though this is a fixed sign, even though we want to do things our own way, when Mars is in the first house, a lot of our focus is in the redefinition of the self. So what old patterns are you needing to let die? What old patterns are you struggling to leave behind? I get this big 8 of Cups vibe here. In order to continue moving on, you need to redefine yourself. Otherwise, you might just stay here in this stuck moment, which for me is also the very Ace of Pentacles in the reverse. Not accepting the new, just being stuck at the same moment. It's important to move forward here. Come to life. I love how this is a black and white image, but she's starting to paint herself in colors, just starting. It's always hard to start redefining yourselves because we human beings, we are creatures of habit. I think that it's very comfortable to keep the status quo. But if there's something that we learned from that conjunction, we are still learning, right? That we are being asked to learn, is that redefinition is important and it happens all the time throughout history. It's just that when we are living in that moment, in that historical moment of redefinition, it's very scary and we want to keep attaching ourselves to the old ways. But every single generation has gone through it. Every generation has lived a big transformation. So it's important to accept those changes, to accept redefining ourselves, and use the past self not as something that needs to be abandoned, but something that can be used as a canvas, as a black and white painting. How can it be improved? So it's not about abandoning our past self, but it's about abandoning old patterns that don't serve us anymore and redefining, repainting our sense of self with new colors. It's improving it. It's about improvement. And we got the chameleon card, act as if. And I just talked about the being comfortable keeping the status quo. But that is so interesting to me. Look at this contrast. The most black and white picture of this deck and the most colorful picture of this deck. The chameleon is the most colorful picture of the animal spirit deck. But the chameleon is still the chameleon. He might redefine himself, he might change himself, but in the core, it's still the same base. It's just adapting to the transformation. It's just about adapting to the new environment. But don't worry, you're not losing your sense of self. So with Mars in Taurus there, I know that you are very attached to your sense of self right now, but you're not losing it. You're just transforming it, redefining it, but it's the same canvas. You're just painting some new colors on top of it. So that's all, Taurus, for your mid-month reading. I'll see you next month. Take care. Bye-bye.